Welcome to The Read Along,
a mini book club for your ears.
I'm your host, Scott.
I'm your other host, Anita.
And join us on a journey through a good book,
one chapter at a time.
Do you like talking about movies? Do you like talking about mediocre movies? Do you like talking about how you could have fixed mediocre movies? Well, I certainly do, and you can listen to me, Scott C. Bourgeois, along with my co-hosts Greg Beaver and Liam Creswick, as we give our notes, and I have some notes. You can follow it now on your podcatcher of choice, or support it by visiting patreon.com/IHaveSomeNotes. So, since our last recording, our house has been invaded.
Ugh.
We're dealing with ants, which have managed to find some crack or gap.
A crevice somewhere, if you will.
And have begun a slow invasion of our basement.
Mm-hmm.
So we have contacted professional assistance, and hopefully this week there will be a level of chemical warfare waged in and around our home.
Tiny mushroom clouds everywhere in the yard.
We are very live and let live usually when it comes to bugs.
Yeah, I'm a catch and release kind of person.
Yeah, but when, like...
This feels different.
When an army of ants has descended upon your house and is slowly forcing their way into your basement, it's time to take action.
It's like something out of a creepy B horror movie or something.
Yeah.
The ants.
So that's where we are.
Yeah, welcome to owning a new-to-you home.
Yeah.
Which isn't new.
And has been left to run down a little bit.
We knew what we were getting into, but we were not told about ants.
No, we were not told about ants. So that's where we're at.
How was your week, everyone?
Hopefully better than ours. But at any rate, while we sit here in our recording basement surrounded by the encroaching
horde,
we'll kind of quickly get through this one so that we can vacate. And we'll start with a brief recap of our previous chapter, which would have been chapter 25 of our novel, in which everybody is dealing with the disappearance, perhaps murder, of Theodore, but Mallory most of all. And after dealing with some grief, they have a little aha moment about the witch lights and their potential importance. And then they hit the sack. Mallory then proceeds to cast a ghost summoning spell in the hopes that it might rescue Theodore, and hears a mysterious thump in the night, but does not investigate, and that will definitely not come back to haunt her.
Definitely not.
As we move into chapter 26 of The Undetectables by Courtney Smyth. So Cornelia's missing.
That's a great start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Diana and Mallory both woke up and decided to start getting to work and figured they would maybe leave Cornelia to sleep in because Cornelia didn't come out of her room.
No, and Mallory sort of insisted, like, let's give her a little more time. Like, clearly she needs some sleep.
Yeah.
She's trying to be, like, a good friend. She's trying to be nice.
And at first, Diana's a little miffed at Cornelia for just sleeping in. And then they quickly discover that Cornelia's not in her room.
Well, not necessarily quickly. Like, hours go by. And then they're like, wait a minute. We've been down here for like 2 hours. Where's Cornelia? Yeah.
So they investigate and discover that she's not in her room and her coat is gone.
Yes.
And this turns Diana over from, like, annoyed at Cornelia for sleeping in when they've got one day till Samhain.
Yeah.
To very upset that Cornelia's decided to go off half-cocked somewhere. Literally the night after they promised each other they wouldn't split up.
Immediately after promising that neither of them would go anywhere.
Yeah. They tried calling her a few times. Nobody picks up.
A bunch of times.
Yeah. And they start trying to figure out, well, where might she have gone?
Why Cornelia would have left and where she would have gone. Right?
Yeah. They look at some of her, like, notes and stuff to see if maybe there was a clue as to what she might have done. Because part of them is like, did she run off to go and, like, confront one of our suspects?
Yeah.
Because she had an aha moment of her own in the night or something?
Maybe. It felt she needed to take care of it immediately.
And it's at the point where they go and check her room another time that Diana discovers her cell phone.
Yes.
And realizes the reason she hasn't been picking up is because she doesn't have her cell phone.
Yeah, her phone's been in her bed. And I assume on silent because they didn't hear it.
And this is where things turn from annoyed at Cornelia for running off without telling them,
to panic,
to deep concern that something's happened to Cornelia, because she would not go somewhere without her phone.
Exactly. Like, maybe she just went out to get some food. She would have taken her phone.
Yeah.
Right? Like, on purpose. That's a big deal.
Mallory has an idea about the one place Cornelia might have snuck off without telling them and may have gone without taking her phone to be undisturbed.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the vampire cemetery.
Yes.
She might have gone to pay her respects to Beckett, and she might not have told them because...
it would have made Diana mad.
Well, and because, the two of them are the most judgmental of her relationship with him.
Yeah.
And so it would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So they figure, well, we better go and check the vampire cemetery.
Yeah.
And they have to go together because they don't want to split up.
Right.
But because of the monster attack from a year before...
yeah, because they're on hours away from Sam Hain at this point.
There are no taxis.
No. Okay, this was interesting to me. That they brought up that there are no taxis available, and then they immediately solved that problem by phoning Felix back.
Oh, we actually should mention they did call around to Cornelia's only other local friends.
Which would be Felix.
Which would be Felix and the rest of the band, to ask if they've seen her, and they're like, no.
Nope, nothing.
But we'll keep an eye out, and if we see her, we'll give you a shout right away.
So then Mallory immediately phones Felix back and asks to borrow his car.
Yeah, because Diana laments, like, I have a driver's license. Why don't I have a car? It would make life so much easier.
And then she's like, what am I doing with my life?
And so Mallory's like, well, we can solve that problem because we know a guy who has a car.
Here's the part that kind of throws me about this. Like, if you take a step back and look at the narrative of it, presented with a problem, immediately solved it. Why?
I actually think...
Why even throw that in there? That there are no cars available and that they need Felix's car.
I think that they actually did that because the author, Courtney Smyth, is trying to remind us about the monster attack and that there's like a cordon off area around the mayoral offices right now. And I think that's important because I think that is part of the setup of our killer.
Oh.
I think the killer wants to be undisturbed downtown at the mayoral offices, which we have previously noted seems to be the focal point of the ritual.
Yeah.
And so arranged things a year before to make sure that they would be undisturbed the night of the ritual.
I didn't even think of that. That's good thinking.
Because we've posited previously that our killer, Jacob, has actually been planning this for years.
Yes.
And
and a lot of his ploys are like really high level stuff, possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
So they manage to get Felix's car and they begin making their way to the vampire cemetery. And who do they run into on his way back from the vampire cemetery? On their way there, Jacob.
Surprise, surprise.
Hey, Jacob, have you seen Cornelia? Oh, no, I haven't seen Cornelia. Has something happened to Cornelia? Well, we're trying to figure that out. If you see her, can you let us know? Oh, sure. If you guys need something to keep you occupied, I'll send you some puzzles because I've discovered that nothing keeps people occupied better than a puzzle. He's not even being subtle. He thinks he's playing them so masterfully. And the thing is, he is at the moment. He's not playing us because we see through him.
You are so confident. I love it so much. I need to stop and give you credit for that wonderful reenactment of Jacob being unreasonably sarcastic. It was very funny.
But they make their way, after passing the Whistler on the way to the vampire cemetery, they make their way there to try to find Cornelia, and of course they don't.
No, they don't.
But they do find a clue.
Yes.
Probably left by the guy who just left the vampire cemetery.
Makes sense.
Who they ran into on the way back. But they find a note from Cornelia.
I'm going to put that in air quotes.
Yeah.
From Cornelia.
It appears to be from Cornelia as a little like memento to Beckett. A
note.
Yeah.
Basically. Like a note you leave on a gravestone.
Yeah. But it's in cipher and it's in the Whistler cipher.
Yes.
And
which Mallory has had practice decoding, right?
So she decodes it. Yeah. And at first she's like, oh, I feel a little bad that I did this to like a sentimental message that Cornelia left for Beckett. And then the more she thinks about it, she's like, none of this makes sense.
Yeah, hold up.
Number one, why would Cornelia have left this? Number two, why would she have put it in cipher?
Also, this doesn't sound like Cornelia. This is not how she speaks.
No. And so they look around and they find another note from the Whistler.
Yeah, tucked in behind the plaque on Beckett's grave, like actually hidden for them.
Yeah, it's got terrible
poetry in it.
And this is what leads Mallory to an aha of her own. Another aha. We've had a lot of ahas lately. where a penny drops and she's like, I think I know who the Whistler is. We need to go and act now because he has Cornelia.
Yeah. I wrote down in my notes, I'm like, I'm pretty sure Cornelia was never even in the cemetery, that they were just sort of lured there.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
So yeah, that's basically where the chapter ends. Pretty fast paced.
I thought so, but I feel like we're getting somewhere.
Well, also we're getting toward the end of the book. So
oh yeah,
stuff is coming to a head.
That's what I mean. Like we're really starting to get somewhere because we're approaching the end, so things are picking up. This is the exciting part.
Yeah. If Mallory had investigated the thump last night, would she have encountered Jacob kidnapping Cornelia?
I don't know.
Hard to say. Also, I'll admit, for a portion of this chapter, I was worried that Cornelia was missing because Mallory the night before had cast a spell where she had to make a sacrifice of the heart.
And it was Cornelia?
And she might have unknowingly sacrificed Cornelia.
I mean, maybe.
The person who she has a big crush on.
Here's the thing. The way that chapter ended, there was so much potential for something to go horribly sideways in this chapter. And yes, it has, but probably not in the way you think.
Yeah, and for the record, Theodore still hasn't shown back up, so the spell might not have worked at all.
Don't like it.
Yeah.
Well, no, there was a line in the poem about souls can be held.
Yeah. Well, we posited that Theodore may not be so much dead as soul-napped.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to kill a ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just saying. I don't know what's happening, so this is all, like I said, this is the exciting part.
So we'll have to wait and see what happens next.
Yes.
Has Mallory figured out that Jacob is in fact the Whistler?
I hope so. Because she figured out something.
She definitely figured out something.
Right? Like she had the moment, but based on, I read that poem like 2 or 3 times, trying to suss out what it was that she connected in all that, like what it meant to her.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope we have the same person, right? But I don't actually know. I wouldn't have been able to solve it if I were Mallory.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't see what connection she made, and I'm curious to see what'll happen with that.
We will have to wait and see. Perhaps we'll find out as we move into chapter 27, which you'll want to read up on in time for next week. And of course, in the meantime, you can always give us a little rating and a review.
Because we appreciate those.
It's true. You can also send us messages via social media.
You can put your digital love via Instagram, Facebook, X, Blue Sky, and Goodreads. We are at the Read Along on any of them that need an at.
Yes. You can also send us an email.
Absolutely. We are thereadalong@gmail.com.
And with that said, bit of a shorter episode this week, but we also don't want to be down here with the ants for any longer than we have to.
Sorry, we love you, but there's ants.
Yes, so that said, we love you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, bye everybody, where you go?
Thank you for joining us on The Read Along with your hosts, Anita and Scott Bourgeois. All Read Along music is by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Cover art is by Aaron Beaver. Be sure to join us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Read Along, and check out our group on Goodreads.com.